remember going back to school in the end of August, and I started having like really bad stomach cramps. And so I told my grandma, like I called home and I'm like, Grandma, like my stomach is hurting like really bad. I need to go to the doctor. And she's like, well, why don't you just come home like over the weekend and, go to the doctor down here because, all of your insurance and, benefits are here. So I came back and I went to the doctor and I found out that I was pregnant.
Wow.
Girl. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay. Go to the doctor, find out you're pregnant. What's the next steps? Like,
I don't know why, maybe it was God's will, but I don't know why I never had the thought of having an abortion. But I think also it was because I I didn't think that it could possibly be as a result of me getting raped because I think that I had erased that situation from my mind that I forgot that it ever even happened. And so prior to that in the summer, I had had sex with two other people. One was like, my high school sweetheart, I guess you would say. And in that, that was a person at the time that I, really cared about, thought that, this is who my life future would be with, or, maybe it would just come full circle one day. And then also I had like a high school, middle school friend that I was just cool with. We really had no romantic relationship. I think maybe like over the summer at some point we were just like chilling and playing video games, listening to music, and we ended up having sex. It was really weird, like, oh my God, dang, what did we do?
mm-hmm.
And so even after that, we kind of like had like a friendship a little bit still, but I think it tainted it because it just shouldn't have happened. But in my mind, worst case scenario, I had completely forgotten that I had gotten raped because
Put it out
I
of your
put it out of
mind.
my
That's
mind.
what trauma does.
Yeah, and so I didn't think about having the abortion because I felt like, hey, maybe it was this guy that I loved or it was like a friend. And so I felt like, God forbid if it was one of them, at least I could have a baby that was from a friend, and then maybe we could be, raise a baby off of a friendship. It was an 18, 19-year-old mind.
You're
Like,
young.
yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But, yeah, so that was that. I went through my pregnancy. I stayed home. I worked. And I did not think for a second that this is the way that it was going to be.
So, is there a point where you do a paternity test to find out that it is not potentially the two other people that you had had sex with?
Yeah, so um, I did end up doing a paternity test with, my high school love. And it wasn't him, which was devastating, for both of us and
How
even
did
for the
he feel?
friendship. Yeah, that was like, it was crazy. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
crazy. And it did affect our friendship because I think that, and I had told him that at the time, because originally what happened was I wasn't planning on doing a paternity test with anyone because when I ended up having my son, my family went through a lot of loss right before that. My uncle, whose birthday was 2 days before mine, he was 18 years older than me, but we were very close. He ended up getting killed in Boston. And then 9 days later, my little brother, my mom's, and my mom and my father's son ended up getting killed. And that was 2 weeks before I had my son.
Wow.
So, I mean, my family was in shambles. And so when I had my son, everyone, like my whole family put all of their love into him. And so I just felt like, and I think it comes from also like growing up off of them Lifetime movies. And, you see people that like maybe have a baby or get raped or, anything, and they just live this fantasy life and they go on and there's no dad and they're fine and the baby's good. And so I thought that like that could be my reality. Like I didn't need a dad, like, no big thing. And so after that, like reality kind of set in, and I ended up having a paternity test with my high school love. And when it wasn't him, we were devastated. And so then I knew that the only other person it could have been was my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did a test with him.
And it was not
It
him.
was not him.
So is that the point where reality sets in and it's like, oh, okay. So me getting assaulted by this person is now led to my child being here in this world.
Yep. Yep. And then I think even I try to like count it all joy, you know? So even in that I still felt like, maybe God allowed me to go through these things because, we spend so much time as like kids, like in our generation, watching the Mari and Ricky Lake back in the day, things like that. And, you see all these people with these paternity stories and you're like, oh my gosh, she's a slut, and, just passing judgment on people. And so, I do believe that God allowed me also to go through such a similar situation to be able to understand how the unthinkable can easily happen. Like who hasn't had sex with somebody, not in a relationship, and you have sex with someone that you care about and then you end up having sex with a friend, or
Of course.
I mean, a lot of people haven't because everybody doesn't live like that, but a lot of people have, and so even in that, like it just made it, even to be in like some type of crazy triangle, but then for it to turn into like this crazy circle, of like, I mean, and literally a circle because it was just revolving. My head literally was spinning, for years, just at the thought that this is what it was. But yeah.